Let's see what's cooking. It's time for Yo-Yo Makes 12.
Hello, today we're going to make something called sticky pecan rolls. This is an Emeril recipe. And that bowl is 1/4 cup of warm milk. Warm meaning about 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you were to touch it, it would be very warm. Not hot, but very warm. But don't worry about the exact temperature on a thermometer. Just make sure it's very warm. To the milk, you're going to add some active dry yeast. Half the recipe calls for 1.5 envelopes of active dry yeast, which is about 3¼ teaspoons or 16 milliliters or 12 grams for a half recipe. Stir that together, and then you're going to add 1/2 cup or 125 milliliter measuring cup of all-purpose flour. Stir that together until it is well combined. It'll make a very sticky dough. Okay, this is half a vanilla bean. The recipe calls for a whole vanilla bean. So now I'm going by what I've seen on the Food Network because I've never done this before. So Max and I have seen them do this on the Food Network, right?
Huh?
Oh, look at that. You can see all the little seeds in there.
Hey YouTube, wish me well because I'm pretty kind of sick.
Max has a cold. Okay. Then we'll open it up. Now, what they do on the Food Network is they kind of just take a knife
Like that.
and they just scrape. Easier said than done. They just kind of scrape.
Like that.
Yeah.
You did it.
Look at that.
Real vanilla.
It smells nothing like the vanilla in a bottle. I can kind of smell it, but I tell you, it is not exactly a super pleasant odor, to tell you the truth. So I'm gonna guess that that's scraped enough.
It's more of an incense, I
We've
guess.
got little bits. It looks a little like incense, but it's not. Okay, put that in there. You know what, the price of this stuff, I want to make sure I get it all. This is really expensive. I'd say that
$8.
I paid
10.
for this half of one. Well, it was almost $7 for 2 big pods.
So
So $3.50 each. So we're looking at $1.75, $2 for this little piece. These are going to be.
It's worth it, but it's expensive.
Well, I don't know if it's worth it. We'll have to see it. And then we'll stir that in. Oh, you can see all the little vanilla seeds in there. Little black specks. Now we're gonna, it says to allow, to let it sit in a warm place, draft-free, room temperature warm place for 2 hours to allow fermentation. But you know what, this is a quick rise yeast, so this is not gonna take that long. I ended up covering it with plastic wrap. I let it sit for about an hour is what I did with this. Now in a large bowl, you place 1 cup of all-purpose flour. To this, add 2 more additional eggs and stir this together, they're saying, with a wooden spoon, and it'll be thick, sticky, and spongy, and it's not really. So I'm adding 1.5 tablespoons of sugar. I added a teaspoon of salt and 1/4 cup of warm water, and stirring that until smooth. I'm adding 1.5 cups of butter. Now it says to knead it into the dough with your fingers at this point, but you can see that you know, using your fingers here I don't think would be the thing to do, so I'm just using a whisk. Now once you do that, you add in additional flour. You're going to add in an additional 1 cup of flour, and then you're going to add in the yeast mixture that you prepared at the beginning. I let that sit for about an hour or so. I didn't need to let it sit for 2 hours. Now it also says to use your hands to blend this in, but it's way too sticky for that, so I'm using a spoon. And I'm using a spatula. And I made a little dough ball in the center of the bowl. I'm going to cover that up. And then you're going to put it in a warm, draft-free place until doubled, which is about 2 hours. And that's about how long it took. And once you take it out, it says, with your fingers lightly punch down the dough. And it was difficult because you can see how sticky it is. And then cover it again and let it rise in a warm, draft-free place until it doubles in size again, which is about another hour. Now while you're waiting for that, in another small bowl, you're going to use 1/2 cup of brown sugar and 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. There's the dough. Now you have to knead this to make rolls, cinnamon rolls with. They want you to spread it out and then put the cinnamon sugar on it and roll it up. But you can see there's no way you're going to be able to spread this out and roll it. It's just too liquidy. So what I decided to do was just to keep adding flour a little bit of it at a time and continuing to knead the dough until I got it into a form that I felt that I could work with and I felt that I could actually physically roll up. Now don't ask me exactly how much extra flour I added in. If I had to hazard a guess, I'd say probably about 1.5 to 2 cups of extra flour that I added in, and all said and done at by the time I got it to the point where I thought I could spread it out. So here it's still very sticky, but I was able to spread it out into a rough kind of square rectangle shape. And then I'm using a beaten egg, spreading some beaten egg with a pastry brush just around the edges. And then I'm going to add the cinnamon sugar mixture. I'm using brown sugar. The original recipe asks for white sugar. And then I'm going to roll it up. As you can see, it's still very soft. It's still a very soft dough, but I was able to roll it up. And then the recipe advises to make a little log with it like that, wrap it in plastic wrap, and freeze it. Put it in the freezer for 30 minutes. For the topping, there's 1/2 cup of butter there and 1/2 cup of brown sugar. The stuff in the bowl, I made a mistake here. The recipe says to take the dough and to cut the dough in half. Now that's when you're using a full recipe. But I made the half recipe, so I had one dough ball that I didn't cut in half. But I followed the instructions to only put half the sugar on it. What I should have done was taken and put all the sugar on that dough ball when I rolled it up. So I just put it in with this one and I added a little bit more cinnamon because I like cinnamon. And you're just going to combine the sugar and the butter and the cinnamon all together until it forms like a paste. And you're going to spread it in the bottom of a greased 9 by 13 inch pan and then sprinkle some pecans over top. They say 1/2 cup, but I put way more than that because I love pecans, especially when they're baked in the oven with brown sugar. There's the roll of dough out of the freezer, and you're going to slice it into fairly thick slices. I'd say those are 2-inch or so slices, about 4 to 6 centimeters in thickness. And place them in the pan. You're going to cover it with plastic wrap, put it somewhere warm to rise about 1.5 hours until they about double in size. There they go, doubled. Then they're going to go in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 35 minutes until they're golden brown. And there they are. It made 8 rolls approximately. Now to get them out of the pan and to get the pecans on the top, I took an identical baking dish, greased it, and then you're going to very carefully flip the pan over. The pecan rolls will drop to the bottom and let it sit to just some of that brown sugar drip off. And then I'm using a spatula to scrape off all that yummy brown sugar in the bottom. And you're going to pour that over top of the pecan rolls. And there you go. Pecan rolls. These are amazingly good. The actual roll itself is kind of a light yellow, feathery, light, fluffy, delicious. And these baked pecans with the brown sugar are fantastic. I would definitely make this again, and if I were to make it again, I would put more sugar cinnamon in that dough roll. I think that would make it better.